A former president, Donald Trump, has pleaded not guilty to 37 criminal charges in his historic indictment. How significant is this, and what will come next? And to help me answer that, I'm joined live now by Allan Lichtman, a presidential historian at American University. Allan, thank you once again for joining us.
Certainly.
I'll start off with the indictment. We spoke to you a few months back with the initial indictment that happened in New York, and now we're seeing this happen in Miami. So how much more significant are these federal felony charges?
They are vastly more significant. We're talking here about undermining the national security of the United States. And that's what the Espionage Act, under which he was charged, the World War I Act, was designed to deal with. Threats to America's national security. He deliberately took, and even admitted he deliberately took them, some of the most serious and most sensitive documents relating to our nuclear plans, our defenses, relationships with the allies, and possible military plans for our allies. As the indictment indicated, this case goes to the heart of the safety of every American, our relations with our allies, and the safety of American agents all around the world. There is even evidence that he showed classified documents to unauthorized persons. But whether he showed them or not, by putting these documents in these incredibly insecure locations, I can't believe the documents sitting in the bathroom, spilled out on the stage at the Mar-a-Lago ballroom where thousands of people go through. Our national security officials have to assume that they have been compromised and have to take action accordingly. It is the greatest blow to American national security ever done by a president or former president.
Now, Trump has called these documents his presidential documents, alluding to the fact that there were documents that he could take and hold on to. Is there a point at any time where a former president can hold on to any kind of classified document?
Absolutely not. The Presidential Records Act is crystal clear. You can hold on to personal documents like personal diaries. You cannot hold on to any official presidential documents, even unclassified documents. Those belong to the people, not to the ex-president, and they have to be turned over to the National Archives and Records Service by the time you leave office. In other words, the moment Joe Biden is sworn in, those documents have to be in the possession of the National Archives, not in the possession of the former president. He has fundamentally misrepresented the Presidential Records Act in a most serious way. And by the way, Donald Trump has undermined his own case by keeping to running his mouth about the case. He has destroyed any defense he has by saying this was inadvertent, this was a mistake. He has openly said, these belong to me. I have every right to take them and keep them. That's not going to fly in court.
And that is not the case. Last night, while he was addressing a rally in New Jersey, he called the indictment the most evil and heinous abuse of power. He was telling this, of course, to a room full of followers. In this case, and there is a lot of Republicans who are saying at this point that this is something that is an abuse of power, trying to get rid of a political rival of the Democrats. Do you think at this point that there is any kind of agenda in order to get rid of Trump and again, just see whether or not they can kind of quell the threat that he right now poses to the Democratic Party?
There's not a shred of evidence that that is true. This is the typical Trump ploy. Take no responsibility for anything you did and blame someone else. It was that district attorney in New York who's against me. Joe Biden is trying to put me in jail, even though it was a special prosecutor that dealt with this. Moreover, this is all of his own doing. if he had simply returned those documents, and they had multiple chances to do it. You know, he was asked by the National Archives right away. He had a subpoena, which he didn't comply with. And finally, the FBI had to execute a search warrant. You know, he's drawn analogies with Mike Pence and Joe Biden. They found some classified documents in their possession. Immediately, they turned those documents over to the government. If Trump had just followed the law and done that, he wouldn't be in this mess. It's his own doing. And you know what? He can say all these things in public, but it's very different in a court of law. He can huff and he can puff, but he can't blow the courtroom down, and he can't just go in and bluster and lie in court.
All right, presidential historian Allan Lichtman, will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us once again here on BT.
My pleasure.